Welcome to Say No to Boring Presentations. 10 tips for redesigning your PowerPoint presentations. How many times have you sat through boring PowerPoints that overwhelm you with information? They have charts coming in and slides coming in and data coming in and more data and so much information that you feel like you have an error, your brain is about to go on error mode with data overload. Or perhaps they're so boring, they're so filled with just detail after detail after detail, and all the speaker does is sit at the front, point to the PowerPoint, and read off the screen. It's enough to make you fall asleep. Well, this presentation is going to give you some tips so that you don't build those kind of presentations. Following these 10 tips, hopefully you will be able to develop some PowerPoint presentations that will just offer some great pizzazz to your presentations that you have to do for your courses. We'll start with tip number 1. What we're going to do is, for the first few tips, we're going to take the same information and I'm going to show you how with just a few basic tips you can improve a very basic slide. First point is keep the text minimal. On this slide you see lots of information. It's somewhat easy to follow. You have 3 points: academic strengths, study strengths, relationship strengths. But most likely, if I asked you 10 minutes later what this slide was all about, you'd probably have forgotten it because it's really an unforgettable slide. Functional, but not very good. Let's take it one step farther. Here we've just put simple, the key points, very basic, your 3 strengths: academic, study, and relationship. Just by keeping your text to a minimal amount, we've improved this slide somewhat. But we can do better than that. So tip number 2, let's use shapes to highlight the key information. In this slide, we're going to use boxes to format the strengths. Now remember, from brain-based learning, you know that your brain is looking for structure, and by putting text boxes or shapes around those 3 key points, your brain has 3 more structures to tie information to. So shapes are very helpful. Now the next tip, tip 3. Use a little bit of color to highlight the key points. You notice on this slide, just the keyword color is bolded with a different color, and it really stands out away from the other points. So your eye is drawn to the word color. Again, the rest of the screen is very minimal, but those 3 points, that one word stands out. So color, when used appropriately, can really help highlight key points. And here's an example of those same boxes, but we've added some color to it. Now, what we've done is added color so that your brain has one more piece of information to tie those 3 points to. So now not only do we have the 3 words, we have shapes, we also have color that will help you remember those details. Tip number 4, we're going to add even one more piece of information to this slide to make it stand out even more, and we're going to number those highlight those key points. So all I did was take a shape, number 1, 2, and 3, added it to the left, and again your brain now has one more tag to key into that information. You can experiment with the shapes, the colors, the relationships of the shapes, and so forth when doing your slides, and you'll find that content is very simple, but it's much more powerful than that very first slide that we saw, because you have so many more structures and forms to tie information to. You can fire and wire that information more effectively. Now we're going to take that one step even farther. SmartArt is one of my favorite tools that comes with Microsoft Office in Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. And I feel that SmartArt is one of the greatest things since sliced bread. It allows you to create a design very simply but very effectively that will highlight information. And the next slide you'll see what I mean. So the same information, but I used a SmartArt with arrows pointing toward the 3 strengths Again, boxes with different colors and a nice pleasing shape that adds interest to your slide. So you see, if we compare that to that very first slide where we had all that information on the text, with very simple steps, we can make that information stand out way better for your viewer. It also stands out for you if you're up there presenting information. You also have these keywords to tag your information to. So it helps both you and the viewer. So SmartArt, again, is one of the greatest tools that are available for you and easy to use. Let's go on to our next tip. We're going to move away from that content, and I'm going to show you a couple of slides that are examples of how graphics can be used to carry meaning. Remember, a picture is indeed worth 1,000 words. Well, that's very true in PowerPoint presentations, and that's one of the power of PowerPoint presentations is the visual capacity. Remember, brain-based learning teaches us that visuals provide the most powerful sensory clues. Well, so let's use it. Use pictures or other images to help carry your meaning. Now this picture is a picture of the Eiffel Tower. A while ago I was fortunate enough to go on a trip to Paris with my son's school, and I snapped a whole bunch of pictures. So my tip to you is take your camera everywhere you go. You never know when you're going to be able to use your pictures. Or snap them with your cell phone. It doesn't matter. Mobile device, whatever you have. Keep pictures around you all the time. They're very useful. So this one, I just used the image of the Eiffel Tower to show you that reach for the top with the effective use of PowerPoint. Again, minimal text, a little bit of color, and a visual that really stands out and helps carries the meaning. Pictures worth 1,000 words. Much more effective than that very first slide. This picture of the peacock also shows you that graphics can help show off your ideas. So pictures, again, worth 1,000 words. You can find pictures anywhere. Microsoft Office Clip Art, you can go to Flickr, you can go to Picasa, you can go to iStock Photo, Morguefile. There's all sorts of websites available for you. Sometimes I just Google the image and or use Bing or whatever search engine you use and find an image. Just make sure that you have copyright permission to use that image. That's my only caution. You don't want to be breaking copyright. Tip number 7. Let's use some contrasting backgrounds to carry meaning. So here's another example of how color can help. Again, very simple layout, but we've used black background for the top half with white text, so contrasting colors. On the top half, we've got repetition of some key phrases. Learn is used 3 times, and it builds. Learn it all, gets bigger, learn it fast, learn it now. That builds the information and builds the significance of it. The bottom half has a contrasting color with, again, text in a different color and a very small image in the corner just to add a little bit of interest and focus point for your eye. So explore play around with layout, color, shapes, designs, text colors. My only caution for you is when you're picking contrasting colors, do not use harsh colors like blue on orange. Those kind of colors bleed and they become very hard for the eye to follow. And if they're really annoying colors, it almost can make the viewer nauseous. So you got to watch and make sure that you don't put colors that are going to really stand out. So test out your color scheme. Put it into presentation format so you can test it out before you present it. Tip 8. Use transitions and animations sparingly. Now, you've probably already watched the slideshow Life After Death by PowerPoint by Don McMillan, and you saw what happened when he used tons of overused animations and transitions. It makes your head spin. Some of the templates that you can use for PowerPoint have some effective animations and transitions in them, and that's okay. But make sure that when you select animation or transition, make sure you're using it purposefully. I guess that's the key, is find a purpose for what you're doing. It should be used to enhance the meaning, not just because it's a cool effect. So animations and transitions used sparingly. And the next slide is going to be an example of what not to do. So here you have a slide. It's slow because we have to click through and watch every little line move through. It comes in a different place. Your eye is never quite sure where to go. It's just not a very good slide. I click again and boom, the slide, this image rotates around. It even goes backwards so you can't even see what it's doing. So this is an example of when transition transition was not, or sorry, excuse me, animation. Transition is between the slides, animation is on the slide. When animation was not used effectively. So you don't want to do that. Now, our next tip, come on, go to the next slide, is use background to carry meaning. Again, a picture can help carry a lot of meaning. So this slide is from my English class, and you notice that there's a very, very subtle background. I turned the transparency up to about 90% on the background picture. Again, this is a picture I just happened to snap while I was on my trip last year. So no copyright issues, it's one I took, but it really helped carry the meaning and enhance the focus of this slide. So I put the question out there in a different color, and I put the information that I really want the reader to focus on inside a text box with a slightly different contrasting color. But the main focus is the idea that you can use a background to help increase the meaning of your text. Carry the meaning of your information. Tip 10. You're probably thinking, well, what am I going to do with all that information I need? In my old PowerPoints, I put all the information I needed on slides, and the reader got it that way. Well, if you're using PowerPoint to present information for handouts, that's fine, but there's probably better ways to provide that kind of information. A PowerPoint should be used as a visual tool to help enhance your information that you're sharing. So let's use other methods to provide more detailed information. For example, in addition to the slides, you can also provide handouts. You can be giving a speech and pause and ask your viewers to take notes. You can have objects around you that will help carry meaning. For example, if you're talking about Shakespeare, and I was talking about the to be or not to be speech, the Gravedigger speech, alas poor Yorick, I knew him well. I could have an image of a skull there. Or if I'm talking about anatomy, I could have borrow the skeleton from the library to bring with me to enhance what I'm doing. Look around you. It could be simple as using a book, a textbook. I've used grocery bags to help carry the meaning for some of my information. So again, a presentation is multifold. Often it's not just your PowerPoint. You can also send the viewer to give them a bunch of web links. At the end of a presentation, you can include a slide that has all of that kind of information with you. Or you can put your information up on a website or a Google document or something and say, go check out the more detailed information if you want to take more notes. So again, many different ways to share all that really fussy information that you may want to share with others. You don't have to put it all on a slide. So a bonus tip, the number one tip I think is really important, ask for help. If you're not sure how to make your slides look better, ask a classmate, a colleague, your instructor. Go to the Learning Cafe and get some help. If you're working at a distance, you can go to the e-Learning Cafe. You can go to Microsoft PowerPoint website. There's all sorts of information available online to get help on how to improve your PowerPoints. But your best source is your classmates and your instructor. When in doubt, ask. And most instructors believe there's no such thing as a dumb question. So as long as you've done some information, showing your instructor that you've tried to find an answer, but you just can't figure it out, don't be afraid to ask for help. Most of us are very, very willing to give you whatever help we can. So ask for help. Well, I hope these 10 tips have helped you say no to boring PowerPoints.